Hello, Faith Warriors. Everyone doing okay? Heard there was a party going on in the chat room last night, huge session. So earlier in the week, and it's only Wednesday, talked about the potential of a turn in Aussie Kiwi. Steve went over it, showed the falling wedge and how to take advantage of it. If you're a brave soul, you stayed long this pair. Anyone take it? How about this? Let's see here. How about this from Blake, just net long Kiwi USD for a pip. Tiana, great. Are you a subscriber, Tiana? Just curious. Okay, so also Kiwi yen. So anyone that was, I asked Stelios yesterday, what do you think is going to happen there? He goes, well, they're going to be dovish. So Stelios had the macro, and subscribers, members in the chat room had windfalls. So you catch one of these trades, once a month, and you have a good month in a day. Okay, great. Dylan, great. Congratulations to you. Okay, so what have you done for me lately? So let's take a look at the markets, and also remember, it's okay. It's not illegal to have more than one FX account, and maybe after you have another account, you'll realize that there's some insufficiencies with who you're at. Trent and Justin are at your service. Guys have a lot of integrity. They're brokers of brokers. They'll find a fit for you and have your broker send you a check or pay for our subscription here. All right, so everyone's aware of this. I was anticipating the potential reversal week to the upside. All we needed was, here was the close, 103.40. So unless something really wild happens, I don't expect it. I think the low is in. Weekly, I think we go to 107. So that's it. Blake, turn me on here. Yeah. You know what? It's interesting you bring that up, Tiana, because I have a trader friend who says he found Blake on Chat with Traders, and he's been here with ForexAnalytix from the beginning. And the words he used to describe what it did for his trading was, quote, game changer, unquote. So if you need an A game and you want to step up, there are many testimonials that it's happened for people. It's not a theory. It's something that, has happened for a lot of people that Blake has mentored. And Grega, you're going to have lots of testimonials for Grega and Steve's, great work, and really the Andre, the whole team. So getting back to the markets, there is something I think, and Blake also brought this up yesterday. We're such a great team, all of us, in my extremely accurate and humble opinion. So Blake was showing the bonds, and the bonds had two drives yesterday, but this is what's going on here. Oh, it's Ronan. Okay, so that was Ronan's testimonial. Okay. Anyway, so here we go. We have a 3 drive to a bottom pattern here. 1, 2, 3. Actually, 235 was one of the targets. If you just looked at, I don't know, call it the rectangle, this rectangle here. So I think there's a shot for a rally back to 254, but to me it looks like you have 1 and 2 on the daily. Probably get a recovery and then one more decline. But I think yields could rally back to the breakdown at 254. So what does that imply? That implies something else Blake was talking about yesterday. If yields are going to turn, you probably get some type of turn in the yen, and I think between here and 1010, you could start to visualize a potential reversal formation. Now, if the stock market falls out of bed, you'll end up with a 3 drive, but it's very possible that we're forming some type of right shoulder here. And, up around 1080, just, imagine that we're going to have this type of formation here. So it's only a trade, though, because it's only the second drive in yield. So that's the implication for yields. It's going to be the yen, and maybe while the bonds rally, the S&Ps could, maybe continue to squeeze. We'll see. And oil. So I'm looking at oil here, and I felt that way here too. Oh, maybe I missed it. And then we had this and caught this Friday. So this to me also looks kind of like an ABC. And what kind of high is this in the crude? Anyone know? It's kind of the theory of the real simple implicator. So to me, I would love to see one more shot up to the confluence of these two lines. And looks like it's going to come in around 60, 80, 61. But the point being, on the 1 hour, this was a confirmed high. Although we took out these highs, on the 1 hour, we confirmed it. So I'd like to see one more shot up. Maybe that happens into late this week, early next week, looking at about 60, 80, 61, and then a $10 break from then. Okay, so one more high in crude. I'm stalking. I was looking at gold too, and I'm going to turn it over to Blake in a minute. And, I understand the bearishness, and maybe it still works out. But when I look at the gold here, okay, maybe this is drive 2, and maybe it's a top. But what bothers me about shorting the gold here is this. And you know what, just like any other tool, it's not right all the time. It's just a higher probability. There is no holy grail, because I've seen exceptions. And you know what? I've lost money on the exceptions. But I have to stick to it because I've seen it work enough times. And that's kind of telling me there's potential maybe for another push up in gold. So I have a hard time wanting to short it because of that confirmed high. So for me, people are asking me, it's an I don't know. But this is I think the metal that's going to be the great short. Okay, so the guys got out of copper. Everyone's looking, and we talked about this with Steve, and there was a decent move. Kind of tried out of this, caught this, and the flag turned into a failure. But to me, this is the best metal to be looking for shorts on. And I'd love to see some equity strength, even though, my bearish ETFs won't work, so that I could get off shorts in copper, because to me, it looks broken. Okay. And I still think a lot of people like it. And, I could see how they could rationalize still being long. 285 was kind of important on the daily. All right, 280, there you go. It's holding a moving average on the daily. So I'm looking for a push up, but when I really get macro with the telescope here, and I was talking about it before this recent sell-off, is that this looks like just a correction, 50% correction. And compared to what the stock market did during the same time frame, it pales in comparison. So actually, I think we really have a key area at these lows here on the moving average, 283.70. And next time through these lows, it looks like clear sailing to me, maybe all the way down to major support. And, if I want to be Nostradamus, I'd say that we could have something like this from here, or even more bearish would be, I would just say equality, because this was a pretty big break. 330, call it 250, 80 cents, gives you 220 or so. And this would be kind of a commentary, talked about it with Steve, that the narrative kind of shifts in the next month or so, that there really is a global slowdown happening here. So I'm pretty bearish, Dr. Copper. And I think that he got his PhD from Trump University. What do you think of that? Any other graduates? Blake? Hey, Blake, you went to Trump University for a few years, didn't you?
No, that was Stelios. So.
We got to have fun too. And you know what? Great trades, Blake. I mean, you know, you were sticking with that Kiwi yen. I'm going to toot your horn. Yesterday you said sell strength in S&Ps, and I tweeted it. I was disappointed. I didn't even get a like from it. I said, you know, even with an allergy attack and irritated eyes, watery eyes, you can still see markets, bro.
Thank you.
Oh, here we go. The honor.
Sorry, and if I missed your tweet, I pay attention to Twitter probably like 20-30% of the time, so I don't catch a lot of tweets. You know, people. But
I'm trying to get there, Blake. You know, I was at a Twitter Anonymous meeting last night, and you know, I said, you know, at first I wanted to tweet, and now I can't stop.
Well, you know, first of all, as far as Twitter goes, it's more of a situation of, because I have this streaming Bloomberg news, I tend to focus on that more than people's opinions, and so you know, if you mention me, by the time you mention me, I might have like 6 other mentions, and it just gets drowned out, and I don't ever go back. So I actually, a lot of people like will respond to me or tweet at me, and I completely miss it. Yeah,
you're focused on making money.
Yeah, it's not like I'm ignoring anybody. I just not purposely anyway.
All right,
there are a few people I purposely ignore. Actually, I can say that on it with a straight face. I could say that, but for the most part, it's you know, I'm not trying to.
Anyway, very good, very nice work, Blake.
Thank you. The New Zealand yen, you know, and I was telling the guys in the chat room, that was the best Asian trading profit I've had in years. I absolutely crushed the New Zealand yen, and I had a big position, and I was long Aussie New Zealand, and I'm still long Aussie New Zealand actually, but the New Zealand yen, I didn't get hit on any of my overnight offers, unfortunately, so that's a little bit of a bummer, but that doesn't mean that I won't sell the New Zealand yen at some point today. But let me talk a little bit about a few things. First and foremost, the euro. So the euro's just kind of trapped here. We had this false breakout up here. We had this false breakdown down here, and it's, you know, it's kind of stuck in the middle. Obviously, Europe is slowing down. Obviously, the growth is slowing globally, so that's a big issue. Generally speaking, no matter what you're trading, you just got to realize that growth is really just kind of slowing globally. I was reading a piece from one of the banks. I think it was RJ O'Brien. Anyway, they were talking about the euro dollar as far as you know, playing it long, because they see a bunch of divergence here in the euro, as long as we stay above pretty much these levels that we're at overnight. And you know, the thing is I have to admit, by looking at the euro dollar, we have this like major, and I'll just draw it here, major. Crap, I'm gonna have to go like this. They have these little buttons that keep popping in the way. Major divergence as the euro has been moving lower. But does that constitute a long necessarily? I don't know, but you know, with you know, this ongoing Brexit deal, the thing that I keep coming back to is what's good for the UK is going to be good for Europe. So I get a little hesitant selling the euro down here. It's do I think that it's bullish? No, but do I want to be bearish down at the bottom end of this range? Not really. So that's something that just kind of is something that I'm thinking about while we're down here. It's like you know, there's so much support down here around the 112, 112.50. I don't know if I necessarily want to be on the short side of this at this moment. You look at the cable. The cable is trying to firm, and you know, there's a bunch of votes coming out today. It's so confusing, and I'm going to have to let Stelio step in and try to make sense of it, and hopefully he's feeling a little bit better, and he can. But the cable, I have to admit, is holding up relatively well. So that's something that we've got to note. Despite the euro that's been a little weak over the last couple of days, the pound's actually holding up pretty well. Now let's talk about the Aussie and the Kiwi. So the Aussie got slammed down off of this trendline resistance, you know, following the RBNZ, and it really bums me out because I was trying to sell into this trendline resistance yesterday. Amanda in the chat room was like, "Hey, I'm going to try to sell the Aussie," and you know, by the way, Amanda, who is more than likely listening in right now, she is a really good trader, and I'm gonna make her blush here for a second. She's a really great trader. She's so damn good at what she does, and I'm so excited to have her on the team and being in our chat room so many hours of the day. She actually got up in the middle of the night to, you know, close out some yen positions because she lives in the UK. She got up in the middle of the night to close out some yen positions. She's so talented in what she does, yet she's too shy to get on the webinar, so we don't force the issue. However, at some point, we'll bring her on. You know, and you can actually, every time if you're listening to ForexAnalytix, or if you have ForexAnalytix, the program running, whenever the webinar is coming on, you can hear her voice say webinar online. Well, that's her voice. So she does. That's just so you guys know, as a little tidbit of information. Anyway, she was like, I'm going to sell the
way they can. It's the only way they can get a sniff of her voice.
Right. It's just this little bit of voice that we get of Amanda's, but she was like, I'm going to sell the Aussie at 71.50, and I looked at the chart and I'm like, 71.57 is what she said yesterday, and I'm like, oh man, that's a 78% retrace, and I'm going to join her there, you know, because it's, you know, as traders, all we can do is manage our risk. So, you know, if we could get up against this trend line and short it and put your stops right above, you're, you know, risking 20 pips to make 100, 150 or whatever. Unfortunately for all of us, it never made it up there, and it's reversed. But you can see we're in this, you know, wedge. The Kiwi, we got slammed down from this, you know, triangle resistance. This told us last week, that false breakout. That's why I put in the pattern in play, because again, it's just manageable risk. I was a little nervous. Some of the guys from Daily FX is like, you know, our whole, you know, retail complex is short the Kiwi, and I'm like, God, that makes me a little nervous when everybody's short. But you know, the New Zealand or excuse me, RBNZ basically is succumbing to the idea that that New Zealand's not going to be isolated from the global slowdown. And remember, this is a global slowdown, guys, and it's typical after we've had 10 years of an expansion. I mean, since the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, we've been we're 2 years beyond a normal expansion. So and that had to do with obvious paralleled monetary stimulus globally from central banks. So it's typical that after such a huge expansion in economic activity, we're going to have a recession, probably a pretty good one too. And I've actually over the last year, I've told my friends personally in my personal space that you guys have to start preparing for this, for a recession, because it's going to come, and I don't think it's going to be a moderate one. I think it's going to be, it's after, it's like you've been partying for 10 years straight. You're going to have a hangover. If anybody has ever drank a lot of alcohol till 3-4 o'clock in the morning, you wake up the next day and it takes you a couple days to recover, and that's probably what we're going to deal with. Does that mean, we're going into another financial crisis? No, but typically we're going to see cyclically, it's going to hurt a little bit, and so New Zealand is not going to be isolated from this, and I didn't think they would be either. Now, the problem with the Kiwi technically is, we start breaking through, some of these levels like 67, 50, you're probably going to see us trade back down towards 65 cents in the Kiwi. Now, I'm not necessarily short the Kiwi anymore. I was short Kiwi yen, even though I have a pattern in play in the New Zealand dollar, and I expect us to go a lot lower. I was short the Kiwi yen just because I was playing the stock market weakness. That was my proxy. However, now I'm actually playing the Aussie New Zealand on the long side, because the Aussie New Zealand has had months and months and months and months of just getting absolutely crushed, as New Zealand has been, the proxy of strength in the global economy. But now, if you start thinking, okay, we're going to see a bit of a retracement in the Aussie New Zealand, I think a realistic expectation from current levels is to trade back up to 106, 107. This is where I do expect the Aussie New Zealand to trade back up to, somewhere in this neighborhood. So I am long the Aussie New Zealand, and I am buying dips. And as long as we stay above 103.70, I am going to be on the long side. Now, the question is, can you just buy it right now and close your eyes and hope for the best? You can. I think you could get better prices. I think that, you might be able to pick up some Aussie New Zealand down here at 104. And that's, I've already got some, and I'm buying some on dips. So as I alluded to in my tweet yesterday, for those of you that were, that follow me on Twitter, that's what I sold, all of my Aussie New Zealand last night at 104, like right where we're at, like 104.35 or something like that, on the spike up, and now I'm just buying dips back to 104. Now, one other chart.
Do you have any upside targets in mind?
Yeah, right here.
107-ish?
106 to 107. I think that this scenario will probably be revisited. Can we go higher than that? Sure. I mean, it depends how. Yeah, we get a China deal.
A great trade for like a retracement trade. Anyway. Yeah. I mean, like, let's say you're buying it at 104, you risk below 103.50, and you're targeting 106. Yeah.
I mean, that's
nice RR.
Yeah, I mean, you're risking 1 to make 4, 5, and I think it's a good trade. Don't want to steal too much more from Steve and Stelios, but I am going to talk about a cross rate that I don't normally talk about, and this is a testament to our chat rooms. I can't follow everything, and I don't follow everything. Usually, my attention is really focused on a few different pairs at a time. So I may be trading the euro, the dollar CAD. And speaking of the dollar CAD, it is ripping. I was long a bunch of this overnight too, and we got a nice little bull flag going. Just FYI. But what just happened? Hold on. Wait, ECB says aren't the only factor to blame for banking woes. No, that's so. The euro just spiked up. Hold on. I missed what was just said. I heard the squawk, but I heard squawking. I just didn't, not too sure. Anyway, I'm going to show you one chart. This is, again, going to the testament of our chat room. Like I said, I may be focused on a couple things, and I'm not looking at everything. You know, because I'm trading the amounts that I trade, I have to really kind of hone in on a few things. However, Dominic in our chat room, he brought up, and Dominic's in Hungary, I believe. Maybe Budapest. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, he pointed out the Euro Swiss, and Stelius has said Dominic is hungry. The Euro Swiss is down at this 112 support. I would venture to guess that there's a lot of Swiss National Bank interaction down here, and you see this little spike in the Euro Swiss. It spiked down and then popped right back up again. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be short that. Not with the euro where it's currently at, and the dollar Swiss near parity. And if you go back to, 2016, there's a very big pivotal area for the Euro Swiss. I'm sure you can find some pretty decent fibs here too.
So they're probably defending it here, Blake, huh?
Yeah, I would think
your vibe.
Yeah, that's my vibe. Is it's probably after I saw the spike, and there's a 618 here. After I saw the spike lower, and Dom said I'm adding some to the Euro Swiss. I'm like, that's probably, it looks like pretty good defense. And again, this is where you start talking about risk reward. Okay, so your stop is down here, which my stop is down here, and then your reward is maybe back up here, and you're currently right here. You're risking 1 to make 3 or 4. So, and then you're playing with a currency that is going to pay you handsomely for being short, which is the Swiss franc. So that is something that I'm like, okay, well, I'll nibble, I'll bite. It's not like I'm in a huge position, but I'll play it down here. And if we get back above 112.50, I can always add more, knowing that I'm kind of out of the rough patch. So anyway, I'm just looking at all the support down here, and thanks, Dom. Who is hungry.
One of the few trades, Blake, that you can use a decent amount of leverage, because if there is one thing true for the Euro Swiss, is that under normal circumstances it doesn't have a big ADR, neither it moves too much. I mean, if we take out of the equation, all the S&B related incidents, like when they first imposed the floor or when they let the floor go. Other than that, it's a slow mover.
Right, exactly. All right, well, now that you're here, Steve, I'm going to pass it over to you, because we do have Canadian trade balance. Remember, if you guys want to be part of the ForexAnalytix community, make sure you sign up. It's only $1 for 10 days, and then you can be in the chat rooms with us all day. But more importantly is if you visit our sponsor, Forest Park FX, your trading can help subsidize your or completely pay for your subscription. So make sure you talk to our webinar sponsors, Forest Park FX. They met Steve, Grega, and Joe out in New York for the trade show 2 weeks ago. So they're just a great group of people that I enjoy working with wholeheartedly. So make sure you visit them. All right, you guys have a great one.
Yeah, Blake, maybe there'll be another big spike in euro.
Yeah,
just
maybe.
Maybe. Just shows the environment, 10, 15 pip moves are spikes nowadays, huh? In euro.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, anyway. Great trading, Blake. Steve's.
Hey.
Earl.
How are you? Coach?
You like that Dr. Copper metaphor, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, buddy.
So Dale, are you going to start unfolding for us this Brexit mess before we go to chat?
I've lost count of what's happening. Let's have a look at the data first. We have US and Canadian trade balance in about.
I'm going to switch to
5 seconds
on a 4-hour chart. Here we are.
Yeah, it's not major data, but it always moves the market a little bit. So Canadian trade balance slightly worse than expected. US slightly better than expected. So
okay, so let's see if we're going to get a spike here. Yeah, let's see if we get a.
Okay. Okay. Meanwhile, what's happening today, from what I understand in the UK House of Parliament, there's going to be a series of votes from the members of Parliament to show what their preferred Brexit options are. These are indicative votes. We talked about this yesterday. So Theresa May, in the end, can just ignore them, but it's highly likely that she won't. She's still trying to get support for her deal, for potentially a third vote if that happens. We had Jacob Rees-Mogg yesterday showing that he will support it, but he did say that he would be backing her plan if it had also the backing of the DUP, the Irish, Democratic Unionist Party from Ireland, and they don't. They said that they will not support it so far. So it seems like these 16 members of Parliament are controlling quite an important situation. So we're going to have these votes today. What's going to happen after that? I have no clue. I really don't know. So
I think there's going to be more drama for longer. That's what I think, unfortunately.
Yeah. My view regarding the DUP is, and I know I'm going to be called that I'm very cynical, but these are people who are part of this government. They suddenly became quite important, and they will not be important in the future. You know, with the next government, they will probably fade away. So what would they do? Like most humans do, they'll try to maximize what they can get. So my opinion is that eventually they will find some kind of compromise. I have no idea what that is, and use their position of power to get whatever it is that they want in order to show support for May. I hope I'm wrong, because really this is not what they should be doing. But I hope I'm wrong. But I somehow feel that this is what they're going to be doing. So
very nice how politicians work. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're all humans and politicians, and with whatever that means. We all know how politicians are like.
Yeah, the worst kind of humans.
Well, I wouldn't say the worst. They're close to yeah. No comment. That's it. We didn't have that much yesterday.
Nothing
apart
else
from the Airbnb, obviously, was dovish, and for people who missed it, they actually did say explicitly that the next move is probably going to be a cut, and that moves away from their rhetoric so far that things were balanced. So that caught the market by surprise. And the Kiwi is weakening.
You called it yesterday, Stel.
I said it was likely, but obviously you can never be sure about anything in this life.
Well,
but I said,
right.
Yeah.
But you said likely. They did exactly what you said was likely.
You can be certain about some things in life. Like, for example, that the Fed would not hike 4 times in 2019. I would bet my life on that even a year ago, if you remember.
Yeah, you were saying that. Yeah.
Early on.
All right, Steve. When did they ease?
You know something? In my opinion, extremely likely within the year, within the calendar year, within 2019.
Steve, did you read? Sorry to interrupt. Did you read the comment that there's this? I can't remember the guy's name, but apparently a guy who's tipped to be nominated by Trump for the next Fed chair.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the name, but I know exactly who you're talking about. It's the same guy that was against. It's the same guy. I mean, the usual hypocrites all over. Of course, you can find them all over the place. He was a guy that was, totally against. Yeah. He was totally against the Federal Reserve being easy on monetary policy when Barack Obama was the president, and in my opinion, rightly so. I mean, the biggest mistake the Fed has made, oppositely than most pundits keep repeating, is not that it hiked rates, is that it didn't do a lot earlier than this. Now he actually wants the Federal Reserve to be easy on monetary policy. I mean, go figure.
He said that they should be cutting 50. That's what he said.
All right. Well,
there you go.
Sucking up to power, and there's someone else who's an economic advisor. I interviewed Larry Kudlow during the presidential campaign on FX Street. I got him, and I brought up Trump. Okay, and he said,
impressive.
"Huh?
That's impressive, Dale."
Oh, that he didn't think he had a chance and he wasn't in favor of a lot of his policies and tenor. And then look at what's happened.
I think that Trump just followed the old known motto, which says, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, because everybody thought that Cadlow is all about free trade, etc. So when actually Trump brought him on board, then he became the best, parrot, repeating, what Trump was saying about policies that have to do with China trade, etc. So instead of being an advocate of those are the wrong policies, he became an advocate that those are the right policies.
Well, maybe Larry's a Gannist, because WD said if you don't learn how to change your mind, you won't have any change left, or you can't get a job in the current administration.
The last one I agree with. Probably that's why he changed, not because what he believed earlier was wrong, but it wasn't convenient anymore for him to get a high-paid job.
Yeah, I turned down that position there. Hang with you guys.
Okay, thank you. So let's go back to our favorite charts and see what happened yesterday. I'm not gonna, stick around with things that Blake already showed. I mean, we already know. We talked yesterday that the risk-reward trade was being soared against that confluence of resistances. I did like, from a technical perspective, I would have liked to see a spike towards the 61.8 and the reversal later. Who knows? It might happen later on. But this is obviously like a huge candle and a nice rejection from there. So that means that the next area of support, the next area of interest, is lower from where we are, another 50 pips to the downside, close to 67.40, 67.50. We have there this ascending trend line support and the 200 daily moving average. So we should see at least some stalling of the price action. I actually got triggered yesterday on a position in Kiwi yen. If you remember, I was looking to be short the Kiwi yen since what was it, Thursday or Friday? Anyhow, since last week. So I was asleep. I wanted initially. I was thinking of putting an alarm to wake up, but I had a migraine yesterday, so that wouldn't be a good idea. So I just left an order for Kiwi yen, and I do think this is a nice rejection. We talked yesterday about this, that this breakdown, a retest of the broken ascending wedge, and as it seems, we're seeing some continuation today. We're now even breaking below this 72.20 area, so I do think that Kiwi yen looks good. And if we have a closer look at USD yen, we can see that there is the potential of another leg lower here as well, which is definitely going to help the Kiwi yen. Aussie Kiwi, we talked about it yesterday. We said that once we see a break above 1038, we should see continuation, and that's what has happened now. So I think that any pullback here, if we get that lucky, towards 1038 is going to be a nice buying opportunity. There's no question about it. So far we're stalling at the 200 daily moving average, but very, very rarely. We had so many factors that have played here that I don't believe this is going to prove to be a false break. We got a morning star formation. You can see it here. We got a break above this descending wedge, so a second event. We got a break above this horizontal support resistance area, so a third event. This was also the 78.6, by the way, that we found a low. So, given all that, I think that if we get lucky to see a pullback towards 1038, we should see at least one more move higher towards likely the next area of resistance, which is almost at 1055. Even if this proves to be a corrective move, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be more upside before we see lower prices. So that is that. Now, we also had some interesting developments. That's why I went over those yesterday in the Kiwi crosses. So Euro Kiwi, let's zoom in and have a look at it. Euro Kiwi came down, retested this horizontal support resistance area, you can see that if we go back, this area has played a role multiple times at 162.50, and then we had this big move higher, and we're now testing this confluence of multiple resistances. It's this descending channels resistance, the 50 daily moving average is there, and this horizontal support resistance area. So one thing is for sure, very nice reaction so far. If we do break above, for safety, let's call it 166.40, there should be more upside for the pair. And why not? I mean, I see no real resistance all the way up to 171. So, you know, there is quite a lot of upside once we make it above there. I mean, roughly 500 pips to the upside. So I do think that this is, if you haven't caught on this move, you still have the opportunity from a technical perspective to do so once we confirm this breakout in the Euro Kiwi. And having to do with the Pound Kiwi didn't produce any fireworks simply because we were already in this ascending channel. This hasn't changed much. I mean, pushed us towards the recent highs. But, you know, we still remain in this up channel. Obviously, we're now testing, you know, highs that, as you see, many days we try to break above them. I mean, count the daily candles here that we were testing this area roughly at 194.50 to 195. A little bit higher is the 61.8 of the last move lower at 195.75. Bottom line, I think that if we break above here, we should at least see a follow through to take us towards the confluence of the 78.6% fib and this ascending channel's resistance, which is a little bit lower than 2 at 199.70. So once we break above this area, 199.70 is the next upside area to be looking for resistance. So I think this more or less concludes, you know, the more you know, well shot pairs to trade that, you know, have the Kiwi as a component. So quite nice developments overnight. As I said, not all of them have already played out. So Aussie Kiwi, if it retraces a little bit more, I think it will give us a very good entry. Euro Kiwi, on the other hand, you know, hasn't broken out yet, but it's quite close to do that. So, you know, there is still a technical opportunity here once we see that happen, if that actually ends up happening, which is quite likely. Let me go through questions and see if we have anything else that has to do with the Kiwi, and then we can go through other things. Why does not Amanda put some patterns in play as well? She's mostly short-term trader, Dillian, but, you know, she's super active in the chat room, so I know for a fact that there are a lot of people in the chat room that are following very closely to what she's doing and what she has to say. Niti says, Amanda on the webinar, otherwise we need a refund on this free webinar. Ziggy says, you just do like central banks and keep drinking so you never have to sober up. Yep, that's actually the only way to go. What are your views on Pound Aussie and USD NOK? Okay, let's have a look at both of them. I covered the USD NOK yesterday. Nothing much has changed since yesterday, because yesterday I was actually saying that, in my opinion, that short term, let me also open it on the 4-hour chart so you can see it. Yesterday we were here and I was saying that this short term weakness looks to me like a short term weakness, because the reaction that we had from 840 was indicative. I mean, it was a huge reaction from a level that we had indicated in advance that is super important. And, you know, we are already seeing another push to the upside. So I do think that USD NOK looks good for more upside from here, especially given the fact that it was already rebounding despite crude holding up at the highs. And we all know that, you know, once crude rolls over, I mean, USD should perform even better against the NOK. You can also see, I mentioned it yesterday, I didn't draw it, but I did mention it verbally, that here it is, that there is an inverted head and shoulders formation here, which we're actually, testing the neckline, breaking above it. Depends how you decide to draw it. If you decide to draw it a little bit more inclined like this, then we're currently in the neckline. But this is another very nice signal that we might have bottomed. The first one came from the RSI. You can clearly see it here. We had RSI diverging, and now we have this inverted head and shoulders formation. So I would say that a break above this confluence of resistances at 861, 860, 862, this range should produce more upside, even if you take it, even if you assume the target from the inverted head and shoulders formation. You can see that that would imply a move close to 880. So, there is a decent upside left over if we break above this horizontal support resistance area that you see here. As you see also, the 200 simple moving average on the 4-hour chart is here. The 50% fib of the last move lower. So a nice confluence. I do think that breaking above it should, yield more upside. Thank you, Tiana. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you. Is gold forming head and shoulder pattern? Let's have a look at it. Okay, so let me see what you would mention as a head and shoulders pattern. Yeah, I see what you mean. First of all, let me say that I don't disagree if you're looking for the downside, because as you know, I'm short gold. I'm actually short. I had 2 entries in gold, as I had said on my Real Vision interview. I got triggered short gold in 1313 and at 1320. And I then, on the first dip lower, I actually took 1/4 of profits, so I can actually have my stop loss being risk-free. So I'm still looking at this rebound higher as a corrective move. I don't know if I would look at it as a head and shoulders formation, because there is not much symmetry here. I mean, I see what you're talking about, and yes, okay, it can be a not pretty one, but it can be like, shoulder, head, shoulder. I mean, you can look at it as well as a head and shoulders formation, but it wouldn't really matter because, even if you don't look at it as a head and shoulders formation, 2 things are certain. I see a move lower here that looks impulsive. I see a rebound higher that looks corrective in nature. So anyhow, I would expect, at least one more move to the downside. So, my initial target is 1280. And, the target after that is at 1260. Now, of course, if we break below 1280, we will also trigger the head and shoulders formation you're talking about, which would imply a much lower target than my initial targets. But let's take it one step at a time. Let's first make it to 1280, which is definitely going to be a technical event. And then we can, reassess, seeing what kind of a momentum, what kind of characteristics this move lower has. And, we can then even calculate, what a head and shoulders target would imply as a secondary, let's say, target, because as I said, 1265 is my next level of interest. It's actually, you can see it here, there. You can see it has been acting as support resistance sometimes in the past. So 1265, I think, is a good secondary target, and then we can talk about a third one. So, let's see if it starts playing out. Silver that we have another friend asking for, it's the same deal here. You can see it. I mean, we don't need this anymore. This already happened. You can see that this rebound in silver definitely also looks corrective in nature. Doesn't really matter how you're going to draw it. You're going to draw it as a pennant. This looks more like a pennant, while the gold one is a channel. This one looks like a pennant. So silver underperforming. I think that if we make it below this trend line, we should be looking at 1520 quite early after that, quite soon after that, and then we have this very, very nice confluence of supports. Don't forget that this 1480 area was acting as a ceiling as long as we were actually trading within a rectangle. You can see it here. So we had this major breakout from this rectangle. We fulfilled the rectangle's target. And if we do break below it once again, then we're going to be talking about quite a bearish development. So regardless, I do think that we can make it back, retesting at least this previous resistance, this time as support, and let's see what happens from there, one step at a time. Yesterday, actually, I mentioned, though, that one of the things I liked more for a continuation, at least in the short term, was Palladium. Actually, I have no drawings on Palladium on the 4-hour chart, but I do have on the daily, and yesterday I used this daily chart to go down to a 4-hour chart, and this is what we drew yesterday, that, worst case scenario, if we don't break down from there, we might see another incremental high, like an ABC, and then have another leg lower to retest this horizontal support area. So this has happened now. We did test the horizontal support area at 1500, 200 daily moving average also there. So far, as you see, yesterday yesterday and today we're holding this area. I do think that if we break below 1500, then we can start talking about a bigger corrective move lower. But until that happens, there is always the possibility that we're going to rebound once again from here. At some point, though, we need to see a much deeper correction in Palladium, and this might be the case. There is even the possibility, if you're looking a little bit down the road, there is even the possibility that we're going to have an initial rebound from here. We're going to then form a shoulder and have a head and shoulders formation top being created with the neckline being at 1500. So if that is the case, if something like that happens, I think that's going to be a beautiful opportunity to look for a move lower. That would imply roughly a $110, $115 move to the downside, which would mean a little bit below 1400, perhaps then retesting this previous high somewhere there. So Palladium, I think it's quite interesting to monitor. We had this first signal, this RSI divergence here. We then had the confluence of the 161.8 and this ascending channel's resistance actually do the trick, reject price action. So keep an open mind here, because we might see more of that in the following days. Hello, Coach, do you have a guest today that's named Will? Okay, he's not here, obviously. I can have Dillian wants me to have a look at Pound Aussie. Nothing has changed in the Pound Aussie. This is what we were looking several days ago. Last time I drew something here, we were back here. I said that we might get rejected from this trend line, move lower, and then we have two possibilities. One of them breaking below this channel, the other one rebounding from this channel. So, we did find resistance here. We moved lower. We found support in the channel so far. At least we're finding support in the channel, and we're rebounding. But I have to admit here that I would be careful, because this ascending trend line resistance has already rejected price action in 4 different occasions, and nobody says that it can do at the 5th one. So I would say that if you wanted to play it to the long side when we were testing this trend line support, that would be great. But now I wouldn't be actually buying it because there is no risk reward now. I mean, we're getting close to this trend line again. So I would have to say that if you want to buy a breakout, I think you should wait for a breakout above this red trend line. Otherwise, if you want to be short, I would definitely, for confirmation, wait for a break below 184. I think that if we do make it below 184, that's going to be a very nice technical event, because by the time we make it there, the 200 daily moving average is also going to be there, the channel's support is going to be probably even above there, and we also have the previous lows being there. So a break below 184 is going to slice through several possible trend lines and areas of support, which means that then the market is going to be ready to start moving to the downside more freely. Probably a lot of stop losses accumulating there as well are going to help with that, and then we can see a deeper pullback. Until that happens, I would probably stay away from pound kiwi for the reason I said, at least in the short term. Steve, hi, what do you think of oil? Thank you. It would be really great to see Amanda on the webinar. Yeah, Irina, I agree with you. I'm actually harassing her almost on a daily basis to come on the webinar, but you know, she doesn't like that kind of publicity. But I can tell you one thing for sure is that if you join ForexAnalytix, she's on the chat room like many hours per day. On occasion, more than 8 hours per day she spends in the chat room trading and exchanging market viewpoints with the rest. You know, I think this is the only way you can get some feedback from her, unless she decides to to succumb to my pressures and to the rest of the team's pressures. Okay, crude. Let's have a look at it. Here, there it is. So crude, nothing has changed since yesterday, which means let's also open it on the 4-hour chart. There it is. So here it is on the 4-hour as well. So nothing has changed since yesterday, which means as long as we trade above this horizontal support resistance area at 57.50, I think that you need to respect the upside. That does not mean that I would be buying it, simply because, as you see, we have this ascending trend line resistance that has rejected price action multiple times so far. So, you know, even if we see a new high towards 61, I think there is a big chance that price is going to be rejected once again from there. As you see, RSI has been diverging for some time now. So I think that buying crude up here really makes no sense. But on the other hand, trying to fight the trend before we get some conviction is also dangerous, right? So for me, how do we get conviction? If we move down to 57.50 and we break from that area, especially if it happens from here, because as you see, we retested this high. So, I mean, if you want to look at it from a bearish perspective, this might even prove to be a double top, right? But, you know, in order for us to validate something like that, again, we would need a break below 57.50, 57.70. In that case, then, yes, I would be looking for a continuation lower, with the next downside target being a little bit below 55. So I think we need to remain patient with crude. I don't think it's going to take much time for it to move lower, but you know, until that happens, don't fight the trend. Not before we get some technical signal that, you know, this is the area we should do.
Steve, how about a quick look at bonds or yields with the DSI being in the 90s, and I have a 3 drive formation on the daily. I was wondering what you're thinking here.
Absolutely, and let me say thank you for reminding me, first of all, because I did want to talk about the bonds for several reasons. One of them being that so far today we're seeing a nice attempt for a reversal here, with the RSI also diverging. This is a dark cloud cover that we see here on the daily chart, after actually overthrowing this ascending channel and the 161.8% extension of this
dark and cloudy. Get your umbrella, bond longs.
Corrective move. And if we want to have a look at it from the yield perspective, actually, let me go to the daily chart, because I think for those things, let's have a better look on. So here it is on the daily. Here you see also on the daily, this was a horizontal support resistance area that is rejecting price action so far. And let's have a look at the yields. Here are the yields. Yields, actually, my target in the yields was the 61.8. and it was also horizontal support area. We actually breached through that, but we haven't made it to the 78.6 yet. Next major area of support is at 228. We might make it there, but I think that this move is already quite strong in the short term. So I would definitely not be selling yields down here or not buying bonds, before we see some type of, a corrective move. Bonds equivalently have also found resistance in this horizontal resistance area. You can see it here. So in the short term, we might see a pullback from here as well. As you see, RSI is still diverging on the daily chart for the bonds. I have to say that, especially having to do with the bonds, I remain very bullish, because from a technical perspective, this was a major breakout from a prolonged corrective formation. So I do believe that bonds have a very, very high likelihood of actually producing new all-time highs. But we might see, an initial pullback before that happens. Okay. Now, having to do with one last thing I wanted to say, and you have an interview today, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. So one last comment I wanted to make before we go to the interview is that we keep hearing the U.S. and the Federal Reserve and the politicians are trying to make this an issue of foreign markets and foreign economies. But one comment I have to make about this is the following: if the only problems that the U.S. had was problems from foreign markets, then the IWM should be overperforming the S&P and the Nasdaq. Oppositely, it's actually underperforming. So I think that from a market perspective, I mean, if you just believe in free markets and you think that the whole truth and nothing but by the truth is being told by price action, then just by judging from price action, the IWM underperforming the rest of the indices tells us that if there are any underlying issues with the market, which there are, it's also a local issue and not a foreign issue, right? Okay, Coach, is your guest here?
Yes. I have Will with us today at Wild West Trade.
Okay, perfect.
So looking forward to our conversation. Nice rundown, Steve, and appreciate it. And I concur with what you're saying here about bonds. Maybe we get an ABC. May not be that deep, but it's possible. So let's see here. Will, I'm now making you the presenter, and you're going to have the ability to share your screen and drop-down menu to do that. Got it. You're up and waiting to hear your voice. Welcome to Face.
Oh, hello. Good to be here, Dale. So you can hear me all right?
Yeah, great to meet you. Thanks so much for being here. I have to start off with the handle, okay? Why Wild West Trades, Will?
Well, because I primarily trade the cryptocurrency markets right now, and I believe digital currency is a gateway into, new horizons in technology.
Okay, so mainly a crypto trader, so that's cool. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey, and was it your interest in crypto that brought you into the trading arena? What were you doing prior?
Okay.
Did you have any mentors that helped you along the way?
Well, I first got into crypto from poker, right? And a lot of people compare poker to being like investing, but you just get your results, a lot faster. So I was a poker player, and I would use, my poker to invest. So I would have like a mock stock portfolio when I was, real young. I just was really passionate about markets. And it wasn't until crypto that I started to, start intraday trading, day trading a bit more on shorter time frames.
How old were you when you were pulling chips off the table and investing them in the market? How old were you?
Well, I started playing poker at 16, but didn't really get profitable until 18.
Okay. So even becoming, and that brings up a great point, Will, that to become good at any skill, Took you a few years to get good at being able to make money in a poker game. How many years? Most of the answers I get for people is it takes them about 4 years to really make breakthroughs and become consistent and have confidence in their trading that it can work for them. Do you find it to be true as well for you?
For trading on shorter time frames, yes. Like for investing, if you take a top-down approach, like waiting with a few months, I think anything over 3 months is more of a positional investing, and 3 months or lower is swing trading.
Okay.
So once you get to that point, like I think it does take time to learn and grow your skill. Like this is it's like any other profession. It takes serious work,
Yeah, you can't be lazy. If you're lazy, you're going to pay the market. That's what I tell my mentees. So
some people usually pay tuition up front too before they
right, and hopefully it's not an Ivy League tuition. Hopefully it's just a community college one. So, where did you get your training in technical trading, and do you have any influences? Or I see you trade naked here, pretty much just candles on the chart. So
I do use some technicals to help confirm my bias. Like there's some hidden under here that I use.
Oh, I see. Okay, I know you crypto guys like to hide things.
Yeah, so I use price action as a framework, right? But I get into a few technicals as well, and stuff like mean reversion and correlations for Forex markets.
Oh, interesting. So you trade Forex as well?
Yes, I trade all markets. So when I was 18, I always thought of saying, okay, so trading or investing is just about an idea, a way to allocate risk to any market to capture volatility over a certain period of time. So if there's an idea, I just allocate risk to it and let it play out depending on the time frame. And I treat trading crypto and Forex in a very similar way.
My belief is a chart is a chart is a chart. The only thing that's different is the title, the beta, and leverage you use.
Exactly. I mean, that's a really good point.
Okay,
all markets act like markets.
Yeah. So tell us what you're seeing here in Bitcoin. I started to like it when a lot of crypto guys started to say, they were moving over to FX trading. I had a few guys on, and that was right around the bottom. So to me, it looks like we have a bottom in crypto, at least for a pretty good bear market rally, and it's underway. To me, the strongest chart, and I'll call Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin the majors, kind of like Euro USD, cable, yen, the majors in FX.
Yeah, the big boys.
And Litecoin actually is a leader on this, and I'm wondering.
It was.
Yeah. So I'm wondering why Litecoin over the others? I mean, the chart is what told me, but fundamentally, was there any reason why people are gravitating towards Litecoin and for its outperformance over Bitcoin?
Well, if you had to give me, let's see. Litecoin was like the follower of Bitcoin, right? So number 2.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think they go together. It has like a early mover advantage, and then you have Charlie Lee, a main figure in the space, mentioning it, talking about it, promoting it.
Okay.
Even buying maybe some of his coins back, right? So that could be an indication. However, it's hard to say exactly.
So even in crypto, you have to pay attention to insiders like stock traders, right? Because
information is key, and that's
insiders.
How I.
Yeah, and what the insiders are doing. I just had a guest on yesterday who makes their trade picks based upon what happens in dark pools. Since it's a wild west in crypto, is there any way for you to see big block trades made by smart money, or is it all, really behind the veil still?
Well, with the blockchain, you can see some of these wallet addresses. You can see coins being shifted around this whole blockchain space. So that's one new aspect that you can use to help generate where, certain big market movers can be moving their funds to. And that's one way to, track and look at different types of orders being shifted around these exchanges. Because it is, like you said, the Wild West still.
Okay, so are there which exchange, because none of them are really the brokers regulated, are there any exchanges that you feel comfortable enough keeping a decent balance with?
I'd say Binance is one, but in this Wild West, it's best to go on multiple exchanges to reduce counterparty risk. That's how I treat it, allocating a certain capital to, different exchanges for margin or for just, these altcoins flipping.
Okay. All right. So, and as far as crypto is concerned, do you have the same type of mentality that, say, hard money people do about gold? Like they say, don't wait to buy gold and wait. Even though there are more opportunistic levels to do both, do you believe in a core holding of these cryptos, not to be traded and to be held long term for this revolution you believe in?
I do believe in there's a few coins like that have some potential in the long run, but I don't like I like to trade both, right? So I think earthly metals in general is pretty is going to have a bullish year, probably by like Q3, Q4.
See, I've never even heard of it. So how do you keep up and screen through how many, are there thousands of these things? Because it sounds like it really is time consuming to be able to filter through all these different coins, because I mean that's not the majors. So what makes you believe in that? Is it because it's based? Is it possibly based on metals in the ground? Is that why it's called that?
For which for altcoins or for the cryptos?
The last coin you mentioned that you're bullish in the third quarter. What's the name of it again?
Oh, Komodo and ARN, ARN. I actually have a forecast on Bitcoin that I made here and ARN.
Oh, okay.
Let me find it real quick.
Okay.
So
and what's ARN stand for? I thought you said metals or something.
It's Aeron.
Okay, Aeron.
So it's an aviation company, right? So these things can make an impact in these industries, and I've been projecting this is a liquid market, right? There's 10,000 Bitcoin traded daily on markets like this. So I just look for ones with high liquidity that I think have potential and value over, let's say 3 months, and then I pick those up.
Okay, yeah, it's a nice looking chart.
So it's similar to stocks in a way, but a lot more volatile, a lot more speculative. Like this thing, wicks up and down in its range just over and over again.
Okay, so what's dollar? What are you saying dollar volume daily is for this particular issue?
10,000 Bitcoin times what is it now? 4,000. So it's quite a lot. Yeah, at least it's like a normal stock, like a couple. Yeah, so a couple million, and then it gets increased rapidly depending on these pumps.
What about spreads?
You have
to go in at a price.
There is a market fee, but they just have it in Satoshi. So the books are actually pretty thick with the new volume coming in after it broke up from this range. So
okay, all right. So you go through all of these things. What do you do? What's your business model? I believe I had the name of your company, that it's Frontier Research Group. So are you in the business of selling your research? Do you manage money? Do you teach people how to trade? What's the model for you guys there at Wild West, Will?
Yeah, so I share my ideas. I do manage some money on the side, mostly private right now. A few clients, a few friends and family mostly right now. And I trade all markets, so I allocate a percent to crypto, to Forex, and traditional and stocks. And I mostly generate portfolios in each. So say, for example, Forex, I have usually my style is like 8 to 10 long short positions over a period of time. For example, the Euro USD, I've been short since, I'd say about May 2018, holding a short, opening and closing a short. And I've been riding that based off the emerging markets, taking a total nosedive in April. The Euro exposure there is heavy. So I'm mostly fundamental, global macro, and some trades as a hedge on the side if the volatility is there.
Great hold. So I want to ask you about that, because that's difficult for a lot of people. How people say great call, great trade. What the toughest thing is, at least for me, is a great hold. because
Absolutely.
because of the temptation to book it, and you have this false confidence that, oh, I'll always be able to get back in because I see something on the hourly that'll give me a better entry, and you turn your head and then the windfall happens without you. So how do you do it? Do you take partial profits and then only manage a trade from, say, a very long time frame? Don't look at an intraday chart and manage a trade from a daily to stay long
Yes,
term?
I do mostly
Uh,
from the daily and entry
okay.
on the 4-hour. And
Oh, okay.
so I used what I did when I was younger with stocks. I applied to Forex. I look for, interest rates, what values the money. So I just look for longer term plays, mostly weeks to months, and anything
Okay.
that lasts a few days. That's mostly how I trade Forex.
Okay. Do you do anything with the metals? You a believer in gold as a currency? Because I believe the BIS is going to officially say gold is money. Basel 3. What's your view on gold? Any?
I'm bullish on it for the year. I believe it uptrends. It has more room to grow. Looking at that 1350 pivotal area, seeing if it can break through it.
See, you're very good, Will. I could bring up everything, and you have the key technical area in your head. Really glad I
trade a
reached
lot of
out.
markets.
Yeah, really
You can
glad
ask anything. We can go through it.
How long have you been doing it?
More advanced, like active trading, would be about 2 years, but about 2 years of investing prior. So I say about 3 or 4.
Okay. What's your upside target for Bitcoin? Stay
Bitcoin?
within
Well,
the next
so
6
here
months.
I have this forecast I made in February. So
Okay.
this is all my levels and how it reacted. I'm going to click play
Yeah,
here.
that's where I was buying it, a higher low, 78.6 back. Do you use
So
fibs?
I do to an extent, but I mostly
Okay.
like to draw my levels manually just to make sure I don't get lazy. But I do use a certain way of, I guess I use fibs to an extent.
Okay.
But I
How do
mostly
you
draw
come up with your supply demand zones then, if that's like a major thing for you? Just key lows and highs and kind of visualize where markets either performed to the upside or broke down? Just is it by feel? Because I know some people teach, supply demand, and it's really support resistance, and it's something that people have different ideas on. What's your idea for drawing in these support and resistance levels? Key
well.
swing highs and lows.
It's a factor. It's a compound factor of a lot of variables, but mostly swing highs, lows, support, resistance, and then it's all about managing it as it moves through it. So when you have it come up to the first level here, normal resistance that flips into it. It's about how you manage it. Do you take profit here? Do you get back in? Do you hold it for the next upside? Do you short here? Like, it's all about managing the trade from where you enter. So I do have this next extension coming up, which I anticipate. I drew way back when, which would take us to the top of that range and maybe even higher with a little bit of timely news that pops up out of nowhere that we've been waiting for the last year. So right now we're at resistance. So it's up to me to figure out, like, say, it's been testing it 1, 2, 3, 4, almost like the 6th time, making higher local high, higher low. Does it burst through? Do we test 4150 and then retrace and then pop up? I think so. I think 4355. So that's what I'm watching now.
I've heard a lot of 4,400 targets on this to complete this first wave. I've also seen some targets much, much higher. So it's nice to see people, at least some daylight and some volatility coming back into the crypto space. And just from talking to you for a little bit, I know I could learn a lot about crypto from you. So if you'd like, you have any other charts you want to share?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay.
So EOS today had a really nice pop-up to the upside. So this is another, I mean, it can be considered as part of like the Ethereum Litecoin. It's another blue chip, but not quite as commonly talked about as Litecoin or ETH.
Okay.
And they raised a lot of money, like $4 billion in their ICO. So they have a lot of capital here to, solve their problems, which is why I believe it has a little bit more upside. So this next leg that we're in now, Bitcoin tracing over 4K, EOS popping up. We also have, pull up the Litecoin chart too.
So is a lot of these coins, could I compare them, since you have a stock background from earlier, to things like Pink Sheet and bulletin board issues, where really it's not about, PEs or anything. It's about marketing, and it's about dog and pony shows and raising public awareness and raising money to support the stock or the issue. Would you make that comparison?
Yes, you can. It's very similar. The only thing is this is very speculative. So most of the stuff that you learn in stocks, looking at all the numbers, you have to anticipate in your head. And that's what makes it, a lot trickier. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't care about fundamentals. I just trade the chart because this goes up and down a bunch because it's very speculative." But if you can connect the dots together and you find something that you can hold for a while, and that you have an advantage knowing something's undervalued, that's how you get the true, what everyone comes to crypto for in the first place, the 25, 50x type coins.
Yeah, and you're seeing them happen a lot recently since the Bitcoin bottom. You're starting to see.
like I'll pull up one now.
Go ahead.
This one I missed though, but I caught a few others.
Something can't catch them all, buddy. You're human.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Yeah.
So something like this, that's liquid, it goes up 550%. It's a gaming company going with that esports type trend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like this, it's very similar to stocks, but it just goes wild. It just continues, and it's probably going to hold this level here, waiting to see if it does.
Okay, if someone wanted to do what you do on their own, how would you direct them to be able to find these things, and where should they be hanging out so that at least they? Because I believe in intelligence gathering, and
Me too.
just from talking to you, I think that I believe in communities and masterminding, minding, and people helping each other. So, where would someone go that would be like a neophyte like me to have my eyes pointed in the right direction to start looking at some of these things that you're talking about?
Well, as in like a general approach, or just
general. Right now I'm going to give you an endorsement, because I can tell from just talking to you that, and I've had other crypto traders on before, that you have a real nice demeanor approach, and I could tell you live and drink it. So
I do. I love this stuff. I really do.
Yeah, I can tell it comes across, Will, definitely. So why don't we take this time now? I really appreciate you sharing some of these issues. I get information overload where, I'm focused on servicing an FX community and mentoring people. And I have a hard time doing more than a couple instruments at a time. But someone who has the capability of doing like what you do, like you construct portfolios, what's your philosophy on leverage when you're doing things like that? Less leverage?
Usually less leverage, yeah, like 3 to 8 at minimum. So I have different risk allocations based on the play. So like if you have a system that's triggering along, right, you have or if they're finding a trend, right? Trending markets are rare as they are these days, but we've been seeing a lot more of them in 2018 and early this year.
Mm-hmm.
So with trends, you want to increase leverage, increase the opposite of what you're normally told. With trends, you want to increase your exposure to markets. However, with like normal intraday setups, you want to lower the leverage and just risk what you're comfortable.
Right.
So leverage is increased for trends, mostly with like a trend-based system.
What will you max out at if you have a trend you have conviction about?
So if you have like a normal balance, so the whole portfolio, let's say you allocate a certain amount of your capital to a portfolio that you trade, legacy markets or Forex with, I say about, you start in gaps, 3% as the minimum per risk, and then you increase it to say like even 9%, but very rare to have that much exposure, usually about 6% of the total portfolio per trade.
So, Will, why don't you show your website? So besides your Twitter handle, people know how to reach you.
Yeah, sure.
Why don't you tell us what you do there?
So the Frontier.group, we share ideas. We have access to the indicators like these: momentum, RSI, custom volume.
Okay, what is that charting service? What is it?
Paragon Tools. If you want to go visit them on TradingView, there's a link there as well.
All right.
That's tools for traders.
Okay.
I like it a lot for checking my bias in certain price action concepts, right?
Okay.
So yeah, Frontier, you can message me there, or and check out some of the tools at TradingView.
Okay, and you have a trading room, chat room. Do you have webinars?
Yeah, so there's a live chat. We go over ideas, share some different analysis on different markets, legacy, or I guess I call it legacy because I come from crypto, but traditional, you know, like Forex or stocks.
Yeah, you've been brainwashed, buddy. I love. Anyway, I encourage people that have an interest in this. You know, I can talk to someone for about 20 minutes and see if they, you know, have a handle on what's going on. So you could follow Will at Wild West Trades, which is a crypto world. It's a Wild West. You know what, Will? I remember when FX was a Wild West before.
Oh yeah.
It was just a cash market before the regulators came in, and there were all kinds of spreads and markups.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, it was unregulated. So you know, you're living what FX traders lived maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago before it became regulated. So
Awesome.
enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like it or not, you're now a new trading warrior brother of mine. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to edify our community and share things with me that I had no idea existed, and also tells me that there are so many opportunities that I wish I could clone myself and have 10
there
of me
are.
to look at.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think this next decade is like the golden opportunity for trading in general. Like, there's just so much opportunity just coming, like every day. It's wild.
And we could count on central banks to try and keep the party going as long as they can, can't we?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, buddy. Well,
and maybe things start trending in the future too, and we can take advantage of that because, you know.
Yeah, instead of just you know, ranging or sideways like the euro's been for about I don't know how long now.
Oh yeah,
so,
that thing is. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's gonna be fun. I think it goes to 108 and lower maybe.
yeah, interesting. That's around targets I have. Actually, I think it'll fill the gap, the Macron gap at 105.80. That's where it took off to 125 or so. So
and everything fits in the macro too.
Yeah. Really a pleasure talking to you, man. I you know, keep in touch, and glad that our paths cross on Twitter, Will, and that you're gracious.
Yeah, me too.
Gracious enough to accept the invitation from some guy you didn't know.
Yeah, no problem. I love talking markets, so this was enjoyable for me. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy.
Well,
well, good hunting, and may pips, I don't know if they call them pips in the crypto world, rain down upon you and everyone you work with. Okay, buddy?
Thank you, and you as well.
Thank you, man. All right, so that's a wrap, guys. See everyone for Thursday. Actually, I have another crypto guy. We're going to have Don is going to be here. He had audio troubles last time, so come back tomorrow, and hope everyone had a great session. That's a wrap. Most of all, everyone, really remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. See everyone tomorrow. Thanks again, Will.
Yes, thank you. Have a good one.